Are you about to pull your child out of school to start homeschooling? Or maybe you've already pulled them out and feel confused or even overwhelmed with figuring out what to do next. Today, we're going to break down how to start homeschooling. Whether you've been thinking about homeschooling for a while or have made the decision quickly, making the switch can be confusing and overwhelming. Today, we're going to break down the process for you into manageable, step-by-step tasks to complete and help you understand the order in which to do them. Check out part 1 today, where we talk about homeschool laws, deschooling, and homeschool styles. And next week, come back to check out part 2, where we will cover establishing goals, creating a schedule and learning space, and finding community.
Welcome to the Essence of Homeschooling podcast, brought to you by the umbrella school, Statheros Academy. We empower and equip you to cultivate the authentic homeschool lifestyle, where freedom and relationships rule.
The first step in starting your homeschooling journey is to familiarize yourself with legal requirements in your area. Laws regarding homeschooling are not the same from state to state and country to country. They're completely different, and they're all based on local law. So it's really essential for you to be aware of what you're dealing with where you live. Legal requirements may include parameters for registration, reporting, documentation. This can involve submitting a homeschooling plan, keeping attendance records, and participating in standardized testing. Some states require you to file a notice of intent or an affidavit. Some have options for using umbrella schools like ours, and some have no reporting requirements. Even if your state has nothing around reporting, you still need to make sure you understand the rules and the laws, because they might have other guidelines about what subjects to teach, tracking attendance, and even hours of instruction. So these are really important for you to stay on top of. Our umbrella school fulfills legal reporting requirements for homeschoolers in Colorado, but even if you don't live in Colorado, we can still help you. Our support services are available for all of you, no matter where you live. If you have trouble understanding the laws in your state and you've looked at it, you just can't figure it out, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We do have information on our website for local laws where you can look it up. If you go to theumbrellaschool.com/local, we are constantly adding information for states. We're getting that built out as quickly as you can. So check there. If you still can't find the information that you need, just email us. You can send it over to us at hello@theumbrellaschool.com, and we'll help you get it sorted out and let us know if we can help with anything. So once you've grasped the legalities and you've got that all squared away, now it's time to consider your approach to homeschooling. And this is what we're going to look at today. The first, and in my opinion, the most important thing to do when you're making the switch from school to homeschool is to take time to deschool. It's foundational, it's critical to your success. We're going to really look at this, what it means and why it's important. Kim, I'd like for you to really introduce us to this and get us started. Will you talk to us about this?
Yeah, so deschooling is super important. I highly recommend it. If you're pulling your kids out of a regular classroom, whether it's public school, private school, whatever, take some time to just, believe it or not, this is kind of shocking. It really surprises people when I say this, but actually just pause and don't do any school, any formal school. A lot of people think they have to immediately go straight from the classroom into a whole set of curriculum that they've got, stacked up in their special place, somewhere in their house, and just recreate school at home. And that's just couldn't be further from the truth. It's super important just to take a break, because what you're creating is actually something really different. You want to get away from that really classroom model, at least in most cases, I would say. Figure out what you want, what your goals are for your family, what your children's needs and interests are. And we'll talk more about that as the podcast goes on. But basically, it's just essentially taking a break from the traditional structure and learning to make your homeschool lifestyle fit your family.
Yeah, I love what you said about making it fit your family, because to me, deschooling is actually like detoxing and taking a period to completely reset everything. Because switching from a school to going to homeschool, it's an entire lifestyle change. Like, not only do the kids have to get used to not being at school every day, which is a really funny feeling, but the parents also have to get used to the kids being at home all day, home together all day long, and learning how to interact and figuring out, what do you want that schedule to look like? Do we want to sleep in a little bit later? Even coming to terms with the fact that you have that freedom, where if you don't want to get up as early as you have been getting up, you don't have to. If you don't want to do any of the things that you were doing before, you don't have to. And I think this is especially important when there's been trauma. I talk to a lot of parents that are pulling their kids out of school, especially like the last half of the year. I think between like spring break and the end of the school year, I feel like a lot of parents are pulling their kids out when there's been trauma that's happened at school. And those kids, they need to know that their mental health is way more important than academics. Like I tell people, don't even worry about academics at first. You have plenty of time in the school year to make up however many educational days are left out of whatever's required for your state. And the kids need to know that they are valuable enough to take mental health days and to relearn how to live life on their own terms and how to full stop everything and define what you want life to look like and to take the time to say what's important for us and what do we not want to bring into this. And I honestly think like one of the worst things that you can do if you've just pulled your kid out of school is to try and jump into academics. You can't possibly know what curriculum you want to use when you're making the change quickly. You can't know how it's going to suit your family and how your child is going to respond to it. You can't know right away what the schedule is going to look like. There's an ebb and flow and you have to it's like a dance. You have to follow your child's lead and see what it's going to be like learning to live life together in the new lifestyle because homeschooling is absolutely a lifestyle. It's not an educational method in and of itself, but it's an entire lifestyle where learning happens all day long in totally different unconventional ways. And it's not just about academics. It's about life skills and it's about emotional skills and it's about spiritual health and mental health and all of those things. So deschooling is an essential phase for families to just reset life, incorporate healing and move forward successfully with homeschool. So I encourage you just don't put your kids in an online school. Don't do curriculum just because some other homeschooler said it was good for them. Take time to just decompress and reconnect with your kids because your relationship with your child is the foundation of your homeschool. And when you're connected and they can feel that, they're going to be and you're going to be way more successful as a homeschooler.
Totally agree. And not to mention this time of year, especially in the springtime as we're recording this, it's a terrible time to buy a full curriculum because you're not going
Oh
to get
yeah.
your whole money's worth out of that anyway. And so just a practical sort of financial kind of reason not to mess around with that. Don't worry about it. Use your library if you want, if you feel like, oh, I've got to get some learning in, make use of some good, educational videos if you feel like that's what you wanna do. Field trips are fantastic this time of year. Lots of ideas that you can do, but I love how you put that. Colleen, that was a really good description of deschooling.
You know, one thing that I left out is helping your child love to learn again or to want to even learn again. Because so many people that are pulling their kids out, they tell me their kid isn't interested in learning anymore. They've lost the spark. They don't see the person that they know their child used to be. So when you give your child the freedom to say, "Well, what do you want to do today? What do you want to learn about today?" That can recapture their desire to learn and help them remember the things that they're passionate about or that they once were passionate about and to rediscover that. Learning can still be happening. I'm not saying sit in front of the TV and play video games all day long. I'm not saying, don't do things. Focus on like field trips. Oh my gosh, field trips are so amazing. And having that time out of the house, parent and child together where you can talk about things and you can enjoy each other's company and it's outside of the house where you're not worried about is the room clean, what chores do we have to do, we have to get the dishes done, I need to pay the bills, what tasks do I need to do, I need to sweep the floor, all those things. It's like traveling. When you travel with your child, you can just focus in on them, do those awesome things and help them recapture their interests. I think that's the biggest thing about deschooling in my mind.
I would just add when you are deschooling and you're taking that time to listen to your child, as you've said, the focus on their mental health and their relationship with you, I think will be paramount. And that's probably been lost over the past year or years in an institutional school setting, whatever school setting it was, where it was more focused on academics. So when you're able to break down and say, I love you for you, and I enjoy spending time with you, it will build up their mental health, their self esteem, all those soft skills that they'll need to get through in life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I was also going to add that it's also kind of transitional thinking for the parent as well, because you're not just the parent now, you're the parent and the teacher. And so kind of wrapping your head around that is gosh, both for the parent and for the child is it's a whole new paradigm. It's a paradigm shift and learning how to do that. And it can be very refining and a little bit confusing, and you figure out, okay, what are the roles here, and working that out. And so if you don't have that added pressure of, curriculum, get it all done, and you're just deschooling and you're focusing on relationships, like you said, I think that that goes a long way to figuring out what this is going to look like, this new world is going to look like, this new lifestyle.
Exactly. Yeah. True, true. Okay, let's talk about styles. This is actually something that you can learn about while you're deschooling. I think it's important to take time to learn about it. We like to focus on 7 homeschooling styles. Would either of you like to explain homeschooling styles and kind of an overview of how they're different? Maybe we can talk about some of them.
Sure, I can start. There are quite a few various styles for homeschooling, and it includes methods that would lead to what curriculum you would choose. It includes your goals. It would include your family's values, your beliefs. All those are wrapped up in what style you choose, and then your curriculum would come after that. So don't jump the gun. Don't start looking at curriculum and trying to pick the new, nice, shiny, pretty one until you figure out what your actual homeschool style is. There's some that are more structured that require a lot of parental preparation ahead of time. And there's some that are the exact opposite, very less structured. So that's definitely a personal decision. There's a lot of things that go into choosing your homeschool style, and it's something that shouldn't be rushed. Take time to research this during your deschooling phase so you can really narrow down what will work best for you and your child and your whole family.
Absolutely, and that might change over time too. You may start out with one, and then as your kids get older and their needs change, you may change your style that year. And a lot of times people start out with just traditional methods, just like what the classroom looks like, which is pretty normal. And then like we did eventually, we did a complete 180 and just became very child led and needs led, things like that. But don't you think, you guys, that most people are pretty eclectic, like a little bit
Yeah.
of this and a little bit of that? Like your core subjects are very often kind of curriculum led, and then everything else, or at least math and language arts. And then the other things can turn into unit studies, or even unschooling type things. And that's okay to know that you're allowed to do that. You can make it work for your family.
Totally. Right before you said that, I was just thinking about asking you too, if you know, or if you do you know anybody who's like not truly an eclectic homeschooler? Like when it's all said and done. Like, do you know anybody who's legit stayed like purely Charlotte Mason all the way through and graduated a kid all the way through, or strictly unit studies all the way through?
No, I think everybody switches it up at some point, especially when you get toward high school. Don't you think, Stacy?
I can think of very few people who have stayed with one method all the way through. However, not for every child. It's also that dependent on your child's desires, needs, learning differences. So I think most people do end up switching or adding or being eclectic at some point.
What about you, Stacy? What did you start as, and what are you looking at finishing as in your style?
We started pretty classical and we are ending classical with my oldest anyway. But the middle years varied quite a bit. I was always drawn towards classical curriculum, but not for every subject. I really like parts of Charlotte Mason, of living studies. We did a few unit studies when they were younger. And I think looking back, I wish I would have done more unit studies and more Charlotte Mason, I would say. Sometimes it felt like I wasn't doing enough when I wasn't following a curriculum that I had picked out that looked so great and it had all these goals. And by the end of the year, I was going to be able to say they did X, Y, and Z. But for some years, I realized varying from that, spending more time in nature, doing things like narration or dictation instead of the traditional paragraph writing, that just worked better for that child that year.
Yeah.
So I would felt more freedom to vary the
Mhm.
curriculum and my choices when my kids were younger.
And Kim, you started trying to do it pretty traditional. Maybe
Yeah.
we should talk about learning spaces right now so you can talk about that.
Well, yeah, because coming from the classroom, I just assumed, oh, you pick up your classroom in a box and you bring it home and you set that box down and open it up and open and go. And I really thought that my kids, and especially my oldest, I just thought he learned the same way I do, and turns out, at least at the time, that was not the case at all. And it was really a disaster. And within the first couple of months, and I thought, oh my goodness, I came out of the classroom. How can I be failing so dreadfully at this? And so I didn't know it at the time, but I deschooled for a month and prayed about it and got some counsel. A good friend of mine said, you need to look into this great book called Better Late Than Early and some other good resources that really helped completely shift my paradigm to where it was so much more child-centered and relaxed and family and relationship centered. And over time, it's I kind of laugh looking back at it now because it completely shifted away. And not that I didn't use the curriculum, but over the years, I realized that every time we started getting hung up or having trouble, I realized I was becoming a slave to the curriculum again. And I had to back away from that and go, okay, let's hit the reset button, go on a field trip, get out and meet some friends at the park, do some cooking, do science experiments, whatever it happened to be at the time. And of course, things do change a little bit again as they get closer to high school. You have to sort of figure out, okay, well, what are their goals? It kind of gear toward that. But basically, yeah, we went from a little learning space that looked just like a cute little kindergarten classroom into, my kids reading books upside down on the couch, or kitchen counter was classic for us because it's just where we lived. We just did school wherever we were in the car at the park across the street, wherever we were. So it really can be anywhere. And it's fantastic. It's a beautiful thing.
Definitely, definitely fantastic. Yeah, I love the flexibility.
Yes.
Are you looking for a supportive community to walk with you through your homeschooling journey? Look no further. Statheros Academy is your go-to umbrella school for fulfilling legal reporting requirements in Colorado. But what if you don't live in Colorado? We still serve you through our support tools and services. At Statheros Academy, we're not just another institution. We're your partners in education, providing comprehensive support services designed to empower, encourage, and equip you to be the best homeschool parent that your children deserve. Teacher and student IDs, parent and professional evaluations, attendance logs, record-keeping services, DIY high school transcripts, or our official homeschool high school transcript service produces personalized transcripts that highlight your students' unique accomplishments. High school diplomas celebrate your family's achievement when you successfully complete the adventure. Additionally, our experienced homeschool coaches provide one-on-one support throughout your journey. Custom tailor your homeschool support system by selecting one of our 3 enrollment packages based on your family's needs. This way, you can get exactly what you need to make the most of your homeschooling experience. We come alongside you in the way you want to be supported, whether that's the bare minimum or holding your hand each step of the way. The Umbrella School Statheros Academy provides what you want the way you want it. So why wait? Enroll with Statheros Academy today and unlock a world of possibilities for your homeschooling journey. Go to theumbrellaschool.com to learn more and sign up. We can't wait to serve your family. I'm just going to run through quickly some of the different homeschool styles. We have a guide that you can learn more about each one. And then we have information on curriculum publishers that go along with the different styles. So if you want this information, it'll be in the show notes where you can get it. But just to give an overview, there's traditional, and this is homeschooling that emphasizes structured curriculum, and it's really heavy with teacher time and prep time. Traditional textbooks, workbooks, things like that. That's what Kim said a lot of people start with. I don't think a lot of people stay with that. Some people like it and it's good for them, but I don't think that that's like the thing that fits a lot of people. And then there's classical. We talked about this. This is homeschooling that focuses on the trivium stages of grammar, logic, and rhetoric, and that's by age. So the younger little ones do grammar, and then middle is logic, and then high school is rhetoric. And there's a lot with classic literature and languages and that. And then Charlotte Mason, this is with an emphasis on living books, which are books that are made by people who are passionate about subjects. They're not textbooks. They go heavy in depth, written by people who love the subject matter, who really want to explore everything. They're super interesting. They're captivating. Living books are fantastic. It also incorporates nature study, short lessons, and education steeped in liberal arts. It's very holistic with, the whole child. Lots of talking between the child and the parent, lots of literature, narration, and that's where when the children are younger, they'll tell you back what they understand and what they heard in the story. The hardest thing is for the parent to be quiet and listen, to not interject and to correct the child where they were wrong. But it's amazing because you can learn so much about how your child thinks and what they understand and what they are getting from the stories that they're hearing, and you can hear what's important to them. I think it's a fantastic way to help your child learn about your child too. Then we have unit studies, and this is cool. It will take lots of different subjects around a central theme, and then you will learn about that theme through all the different subjects. So one example everybody always uses is like marine biology. So they can learn about obviously science with water and animals that live in the ocean. You can do geography by looking where the oceans are and where the different animals live in the oceans across the world. Math is maybe harder to do within marine biology when they're like in middle school and high school, but for younger kids, you can really incorporate those themes into their math. And that's not hard to do at all. English, they can read books about marine biology and different animals. The animals that they're most interested in, they can write papers about them. They can do research projects about that. They can do presentations to work on their speaking skills and communication skills. So you choose that one central theme and then you incorporate all the subjects into that. And that's a really fun way to learn. And it's also fun because the whole family can do it together. Family learning is really great. And then there's Montessori, and this follows Maria Montessori's principles. She was an educator in Italy, and it was very much about self directed learning through a lot of hands on materials with children. And it's all very natural. There's not toys and things with batteries, not a lot of not really anything flashy. It's all very natural products. It's very grounded, very child led. I love it. My kids did Montessori for a while. Then we have eclectic, and this is what we were saying. I think everybody ultimately kind of lands on eclectic, especially the longer you homeschool and the more kids you have, because you learn how to adapt the different subjects for each child and their learning styles and their needs and their interests. And that basically just combines elements from all kinds of educational approaches, and it allows maximum flexibility to customize the education for each individual student. And then there's unschooling, and unschooling advocates child-led learning experiences without a predetermined curriculum. And it's really child-led learning. It is not doing anything. I think there's a misconception about unschooling where people think they just wake up in the morning and then the kids can do whatever they want when they want, and that's not unschooling actually. What unschooling is helping the kids discover their interests and then being a facilitator to support them and then providing educational opportunities in the ways that the children are interested. So it can be a lot of like entrepreneurship, kids making businesses based off of the things that they're interested in, and then helping them learn all the different things that go into that. Unschooling can be wildly successful if you're in it for the long haul. If you're not responsible with your unschooling and you kind of just let the kids hang out and not learn, well, I think kids are always learning though, too. I don't know. Kim, do you think it's possible for a kid to go a day without learning?
No, it would be highly unusual,
I mean, if they're
definitely.
like kicking it, what, playing video games, and I've even heard some hardcore unschoolers, like one, this was fantastic. She said that her kids, I don't even remember where this was, who it was, if it was on a podcast somewhere or if it was somebody I was talking, I have no idea. She said that her kid watched every single episode of the Roseanne Barr show. Do you guys remember that show?
Yes.
And like
Yes.
some people would say, I don't know if kids should be watching that, but so she said, my child watched all of it. And when they finished it, they said, I know how I want to treat people in relationships and what kind of a family I want to have and how I want people to be kind to each other. And I want people to speak with love to each other. And like that is a really valuable lesson. So I think that kids can learn anything. Like my kids, one summer, they watched all of Hogan's Heroes. And I don't know if either of you have seen that show. It's an older show, but
Never.
they saw stuff, but then they were so interested in, what was really happening in Germany. What about they took it and they learned so much more. So there's a lot that can be done with unschooling. Just remember that it's not kicking it and playing video games all day long, right? There's so much more. And
Right.
anybody who thinks that's what homeschooling is, it is not. I mean, if you're going to look at an unschooler and try to judge them, that's not right because unschoolers learn so much. I have one son who is an absolute unschooler at heart, And I can't even tell you, he blows me away at how much he knows. Things I could not have ever have tried to think of teaching him that he's learned and done on his own. Unschooling is good, especially if you're in it for the long haul. Now, if you think that you're going to put your kids back in school in a year or two, don't unschool, because then they will be behind by the time they get to school if you're really not in it to win it, and allow them the time to flesh out all of the learning that needs to get done. We have some pretty detailed information on the website about each of these methods, and we go into great detail about them, and then we give recommended curriculum according to each method and style. Take time to learn about them and figure out what's going to be good for you and your children before you ever even look at curriculum. Like Stacy said, don't look at curriculum until you know which one of these or a combination of these are going to be most likely to fit your family and what's going to work. Thank you for joining us today as we explored the first 3 essential steps to start homeschooling. Whether you've been contemplating homeschooling for a while or are making a quick decision, we understand the confusion and overwhelm that can come with the transition and are here to help you harness the essence of homeschooling for your family. In today's episode, we've broken down the process into manageable steps, covering topics like homeschool laws, deschooling, and different homeschool styles. But our journey does not end here. Tune in next week for part 2, where we'll dig into establishing goals, creating a schedule and learning space, and finding community support. We're here to guide you through every step of your homeschool adventure. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the conclusion of our series. Until then, happy homeschooling, and we'll catch you next week. Are you at a crossroads wondering if you should homeschool your child? Let me introduce you to a game changer in your decision-making journey. Enter the Should I Homeschool Guide by Stotheros Academy. This isn't just another resource, it's your roadmap to clarity and confidence while you're making this decision. Our comprehensive guide does more than address your burning questions. It delves into the ones you may not have even considered yet. We walk you through every aspect, ensuring you have a 360-degree view of how homeschooling might just impact your family. But here's the kicker. We don't just stop at considerations. We proactively guide you through anticipating homeschool life's inevitable ups and downs, empowering you to make informed decisions rooted in reality. Download your free guide today and step into a homeschooling journey filled with possibilities. Visit today's show notes to get started. Do not let uncertainty hold you back. Embrace homeschooling with confidence, courtesy of Stotheros Academy.